Hi mate, thanks for joining. On today's video, I really want to go through an interesting topic with you on how AI is changing security. Now AI, we all know, is a real buzzword at the moment, but it's going to make real changes, and it already is making real changes in the security sector. But I think it'd be quite fascinating for you to understand the direction it's going, because sometimes people don't really know how it's going to work in terms of the security field. So I've devised the 3 key points that I think are the most intriguing about the AI sector and how it's changing the security sector itself, providing that the robots don't rise up and kill us all. So to begin, number 1 is integration. Now, what do I mean by integration? Well, it means basically that the security system itself will be integrated together and basically have its own brain. So what do I mean by integration? It means that all of your security systems will become integrated. The CCTV, the intruder alarm, the lighting, the smart locks, all into one central brain that can then make potential decisions based on the information it's receiving, which leads us quite nicely on to point number 2, which is proactive. These two fall hand in hand together. Because we now have an integrated system, okay, that has its own brain, it can now go ahead and make decisions by itself. Now, what do I mean by make decisions? Let's imagine, for example, the CCTV system saw something unusual on the CCTV. The AI is going to be able to recognize as something that maybe is in the local area, the local neighborhood, is unusual. Let's imagine a person loitering around at 2 o'clock in the morning and looks suspicious. Well, the AI will be able to actually understand that that could potentially be a threat, and therefore it could make the decision by itself to say, lock the doors. If they're not locked already, they might think this person's going to come round and check if the doors are, check if they're going to be able to get in. Maybe as well, it will turn the lights on by itself, not when the system's been triggered, but just to let the person know who's loitering around, you've been seen on the CCTV, we're aware of your presence, and those lights would make someone go, oh, okay, someone knows I'm around here, and make them think twice. It could also go as far as calling the emergency services. So it could see that person loitering around, see them as a particular threat, call the emergency services, and all this time you've been asleep and it's been dealing with the threat itself without necessarily triggering the alarms. Maybe if it saw someone approaching the house, it would then trigger the alarms early to go, don't come here, we're aware of your presence, you're not wanted, go away. Maybe even something over the speaker to say, you need to leave, the emergency services have been notified that you're here. Now, there are still systems in a way that do this at the moment when it says, someone can go, you need to leave, but those systems aren't automated. They're not all part of one central brain. And this is how these are going to work together to essentially secure home and businesses in the future. Now, a little bit about this. I don't love the idea that a system, its own entity, can go and lock my doors. There would have to be things built into that to enable fail safes. For instance, a break glass in order to unlock the door from the other side. Let's say there was a fire and the AI system got fried instantly. You'd need to be able to unlock the doors from the inside, because obviously you could see that as some kind of disaster. But I also don't love the idea that technically, I guess, someone could hack my house and lock or unlock the doors. So there has to be real safety precautions built into these systems to make sure that they are secure, essentially, from people potentially being able to hack things, because that could be a real issue. And especially when you're dealing with CCTV and all things like that, you don't want to be getting hacked and people can see cameras, especially if you've got cameras internally. That's always been a bit of a cat and mouse game that they've really got a handle on at the moment. Obviously, it comes down to the person themselves as well. They need to be able to put solid passwords and 2-factor authentications in to make sure that no one can hack into their systems. But it's certainly something to think about and something to be aware of, because it feels a bit weird that there's a brain of a house that can make decisions about my security without me having made them myself. It feels a bit odd, but that is the way it's going. That's the way they want to design the systems of the future. And yeah, I suppose we're just going to have to get on board with it to some extent and try and make sure they're as secure as possible and worth the extra investment, because they probably will be a bit pricier than the systems we know today. So, number 3. Speed of response. What do I mean by speed of response? Let's imagine, for instance, we have a system that is fully integrated and that can be proactive in its decisions. And when you've potentially got the dogs in the house and the dogs, the camera motion sensors know that dog is part of the family, maybe if you uploaded pictures of it so it can walk around the house freely, and the AI knows that dog is part of the family, we're not going to trigger looking at the dog, that's not who we trigger for. But let's say there's a fire while the dog's in the house, which is obviously a potential disaster if the homeowners aren't in. Well, the AI could make decisions by itself. It's seen the smoke sensors have gone off. Maybe it can even see smoke on the internal motion cameras if you've got them as well. And it can immediately call the emergency services to let them know there's a fire in this particular property. And then it gives, say, the pets and things all potential chance of getting saved and therefore getting out, maybe even guiding the dog to a particular area of the house that is fire resistant, for 30-60 minutes to ensure safety as best it can. This would also come into place, if there's people in the house and it wants to make sure that the people inside the house are safe, it could direct the family to a particular part of the house where then the fire door could be locked or closed over, to make sure that they're in the safest spot for as long as possible so the emergency services can come and they don't have to call the emergency services themselves, because it's easy to forget your phone in a panic or anything like that. The system could do it for them. Say there's a fire at 123 Cherry Street, and then the emergency services can go there and put the fire out. So the speed of response will make a real difference. Also, when it comes to intruders breaking into the house, the system will be able to recognize who is a threat, call the emergency services and say there is an intruder inside this house and if they're coming to potentially cause harm, and they can send out the emergency services, and they can send the emergency services all the data they've got, such as cameras and CCTV for evidence, to say there is pictures of this person inside the house, you need to go and respond to that now. So those are the top 3 ways that AI is going to be changing the security sector. So it's going to be fascinating watching it develop over the next few years. And I promise you this, as it does develop, I will keep you informed as soon as I am. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.